Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth NFL podcast. I'm your host, Anish Gupta, and we're here with a special guest. You want to introduce yourself?
I'm Thomas Anderson. I go to the University of San Diego. I am an accounting and finance major, but I have a huge interest in football and love for the sport. I played quarterback in high school at Bellarmine College Prep, and I've been really having a fun time looking at this draft class and watching a number of mocks this year. So I just love to give my take on what I think is going to happen on these prospects, and I feel like I have a special touch on the QB part of this because I feel like I see these guys different than most interpreters do of this. So yeah, that's me. But what's our next step here?
Yeah, I was just gonna say Tommy I've known since high school, so it's been quite a while. I remember he hopped on, I want to say like damn near 4 years ago.
It's a long time,
But
right?
yeah, I mean, it's gonna be really cool to get his perspective because again, he was a quarterback in high school. We went to rival high schools, which is pretty funny. But yeah, so I'm gonna just honestly start it right away. We're not okay. So we're just gonna clarify this. This is a mock draft with trades. So I'm going to be doing the odds. Tommy will be doing the evens. And if Tommy at an even pick wants to trade up with my odd pick, he'll ask me and I say, okay, interesting. What would you offer? Now, this
Mhm.
with this algorithm and software, the trade processor is very strict. So we're probably going to inflate the trade packages, but we'll specify what we're trading it for. Maybe we'll just say, okay, two firsts and a second or something. But I'm just gonna kick it off. I mean, we already kind of talked about him, but it's a pretty much a shoe in, right? Like Caleb's going number one. Um, as much as like we've talked about him, like yeah, there are definitely some concerns, but I think both of us would kind of have him in that upper tier. I think he's pretty much a shoe in here, and it
I
really
agree.
just depends on how does he progress over time, because this is right away probably the best situation that a number one overall quarterback has gone to in a while, because they have the number one ranked run defense by a mile. Like it was 3.3 yards a
Mhm.
carry last 10 games of the year. I mean, they have Keenan Allen, they have DJ Moore, and they've got the ninth overall pick in this year's draft, who I'm going to pick anyway. So they've got some dogs there. Their offensive line is not fully rebuilt, but it's getting there with Darnell Wright kind of manning the front and Tevin Jenkins. But they've got a good, solid core there. And Caleb's going to kind of add to that. I think the telling tale was, I like to tell this to Shrikar and all our fans. I'll tell you this too. I think the telling tale for the Bears was when they lost to Green Bay week 18 of last year, because if they had beaten them, they would have been the same record, and you wouldn't have seen what the Packers had done in the playoffs with Jordan Love, igniting the Cowboys. The Bears would have said, okay, we're in the same record. We finally beat the Packers after like 5 years, right? We're at their level. They lost even at Justin's best. Like Justin was playing pretty well down the stretch. They lost at his best. And we're like, damn, I mean, even at our best with this guy, we just can't even get through, a division rival. We need to step up. It's time to move on. I think Caleb at one is a shoe in. So, yeah, you got Washington on the clock. Where are you going here? This is where it gets interesting.
So I'm gonna go with the majority here because this is what I think's gonna happen. I believe the Commanders have gone and signed Marcus Mariota, if I am correct with that.
Mhm.
Um, and Jaden Daniels is a safe pick. I mean, he's a Heisman winner. He has the talent. Not a crazy arm, not as strong as Penix's or Caleb's, but it's a good arm. And he's kind of like a Kyler Murray in that the over the middle throws are not really um his forte, but he can still do a lot of damage on the outside of the field, and he has the legs. But he also interesting quarterback in that a rushing guy that doesn't avoid hits crazy well. So that's a big question mark with him is him avoiding hits.
And he's
But
215. Like he's six.
yeah, he's a
He's
light
not
fella
big.
too.
So
So
like,
so this is not one of my favorite guys just because of the durability aspect and the ability to hit balls all over the field. He also had a really good cast of wide receivers as well, but his stat line um, and the Heisman well deserved, very very good season. But I do have him here going to the Commanders
all right.
at two.
I'm with you there. Jaden's actually, he's risen up my board to where it's like him and Drake are pretty neck and neck, in the sense that Jaden, I think, uplifts your team because of the out of structure play. And I think a lot of the stuff that, yeah, you do see with the hits, and I agree. I think one of my biggest knocks is the layups on them over the middle of the field. And you're 6'4", 215. You should be able to hit those type of throws. But yeah, I mean the zip on the ball against, maybe zone coverage over the middle, just hitting those holes right when they open up. It's a lot to be desired, but he's got the talent. I think a lot of things that he has that aren't as clean are fixable. But yes, Jaden at 2, I think is kind of just gaining a lot of steam. It's been gaining steam pretty much since the end of the combine. I think it's a pretty much a good shoe in. Now at pick 3, the Patriots, a lot of people are up and down with this. They're saying, okay, should they trade down, acquire more assets, or do they
Mhm.
stick and take their guy? And it comes down to this: are the Patriots willing to take QB3, right, in this really lackluster roster? Like, dude, this is probably one of the 5 worst rosters in the NFL, if not the overall worst. Like, they just have holes everywhere. Um,
Let's say right now at this point, Drake could be their one. He could, I mean,
yeah,
he could be
yeah.
above Jaden for them.
So that's the
So
thing. I think if Drake had gone 2, I don't know if the Patriots are willing to stick with Jaden Daniels at 3.
I
But
agree with that 100%.
so I think
100%.
with Drake in this scenario, again, this is what we think will happen, not what we would do.
Hmm.
I think Drake being there, I think the Patriots just say, you know what, let's take our guy, right? We can, we're willing to part. I mean, it's because honestly, this is going to be a hard cast. Like, it's just not, his first year is not going to be fun. I really don't think so. But if you get just some gold nuggets and you're like, okay, kind of what Will Levis had last year. If you had a couple spark games, you're just like, okay, I like what we're seeing. And obviously, I think Drake is more talented than Will Levis. So you're going to be like, okay,
Hmm.
we have that 5th year also. Let's keep building. Just keep acquiring more picks. They still have a lot of cap space anyway. Pats go Drake May at 3.
Sounds
Cardinals at
good.
4. What do you do here? There's been rumors of a
So,
trade down, but what do you want to do?
so I am um obviously it's really I think it's one of two things here. It's either it's Marvin, just because of how sure of a prospect he is. He is my wide receiver one,
Oh yeah.
um, considerably. So the question is here, is it wide receiver or do they trade down?
Hmm.
And who comes up is the question. And
That's a good
so
question.
I think what's going to happen, I think what's going to happen is they are going to stick and pick here.
Yep.
I
Okay.
think that the Vikings are the top team to move up here because they traded up to get um, another first rounder. So I do think the Vikings will move up and have the ammo to move up. But I do have the Cardinals taking the one of a top prospect in this draft in Marvin Harrison Jr. And this is a guy that checks all the boxes. Um, I don't think I need to talk much about Marvin Harrison Jr. and how good he is as a player.
Believe me,
But I
as
do
a
have the Cardinals going Marvin Harrison here.
Ohio State, I mean, I can't now fully say they're my main team, but I grew up an Ohio State fan, so I always keep tabs on him. This dude, whew, this dude is phenomenal. Like, I mean, he's got the frame, he's got the routes, he's got the hands. I mean, like, he's just you're a very polished wide receiver. I mean, there's been, I think, like 6 wide receivers drafted in the top 5 since 2007, and pretty much all of them have been, hits. Like, you don't take a wide receiver in the top 5 unless they are that dude. Like, I mean, guys like Jamar Chase, Calvin Johnson, AJ Green, right? Like, this is the type of echelon that Marvin Harrison Jr. is as a prospect. And I think it's you could very well say that he was a better prospect than like a lot of them. Like, I'm not even kidding. So this guy just passes all the tests, and Cardinals taking him at a 4 to pair with Kyler Murray. I'm totally with it. I think he's honestly a better version of what they got with D Hop, maybe younger with more potential. So shoe in at 4. I'm cool with that. But I do think, yeah, if anyone's gonna call them, it's gonna be Minnesota.
Well,
Now,
I do think there could be other moves up there, but I want to emphasize how 50-50 I am on this. Draft day comes, I would not be surprised if someone comes up for a quarterback. And
oh
I
yeah.
hear likely the buzz is JJ, and I will talk on JJ if he gets picked. Um, but I want to emphasize that on how very possible it is either way, and my confidence in that.
Well, that might happen sooner than you think because I'm at 5 and I think this is like the prime spot to trade down. I don't think so. Look, the Chargers lost Keenan Allen, right?
Mhm.
Now,
And
I've
more.
So I've toyed with this a lot in the sense that like I've had the Chargers trade down quite often, like in a lot of mocks. But now that but this was before kind of Keenan went and, you know, got traded, right? Because now it's like a
Mhm.
shoe in that they have to kind of take a receiver. I mean, who do they have? Like, it's like, you know, it's Joshua Palmer. It's like it's Quentin Johnston, who nobody likes. I mean, I hated him coming out the draft anyway. But like, if so, the Chargers, if they stay, here's what they're probably thinking: if we go down to 11, are any of the our neighbors in Rome going to still be there? No. And do we want to go back to 11 and take a guy like Brock Bowers? We could very well do that. Or do we take a guy who could just be our wide receiver one right away? So, as much as I just said that it's going to happen sooner than you think, I don't think I'm talking about this fifth pick right here. Um, I think it's going to be Malik Neighbors. So I'm going to do that. He's just kind of everything you want in a receiver, especially in the inside. I mean, like this dude routes as a Z or an F, whatever system you run is just super
Explosive,
fluid.
a very explosive player as well.
I've seen a lot of people put him as their one. I can't do it, no way.
Yeah, I can't either.
But he's like his tape. He would be a wide receiver one in a lot of other drafts. Like he's a really good player. Um, I think he would be kind of that Keenan Allen guy for them, a do it all who could line up anywhere. I mean, they put Keenan Allen throughout his 10 years there, like pretty much everywhere you could, H back, outside, inside. So I think Malik is probably going to be their ace there. So I'm leaving you now at pick 6. What do you do
Mhm.
with the Giants? Because I'm seeing you know what their needs are.
I know. Yeah, I
Where do
know.
you go?
And I am gonna go with those needs. Um, yeah, I'm big on these first three receivers,
Mhm.
and the glaring need is so aggressive here. And I'm also high on Romo Dunze as a player. Fantastic route runner, um, and great ball catching skills. Had a great combine as well. Very quick. Kind of checks all the boxes, and I think I'm concerned that people aren't as high on Romo Dunze as they should be. Um, in any other class without Marvin or Malik, Rome is a top 10, top 5 guy. He is that good. So I do have him filling the need. I feel like there could be a move up here, but I feel like the Giants are really looking for that home run guy. They don't need the picks. As for the Cardinals, they are a team that really needs those picks to fill a
Yeah.
roster. I don't think the Giants are that strong of a needy team. So I am going to have Rome here to the Giants.
So we got three QBs and three receivers. So Rome is interesting. That's so now I think the Titans are. I'm just gonna. This is like the easiest layup
Yeah.
of all time.
Uh-huh.
Joe Alt here. I
Hmm.
mean, they got Bill Callahan from us, the greatest offensive line coach of all time. I mean, he's gonna have a fresh new toy to work with. Like this dude is a freak. I mean, we played him in 2022, and my God, like this dude just tore it up. Like we could get no pressure on. It was Drew Pine at the time. We just couldn't do anything. Like they were just so efficient, and this dude was a mauler. I mean, he's pretty much everything you want to tackle. He's got the size like 6'8", 320, something like that. I mean, he's athletic, right? Him, Skoronski, it's going to be a pretty good left side for the Titans. And they have Lloyd Cushenberry, who they got in free agency. I am really liking what the Titans are doing. This is actually my hot take. They, I think, have won free agency. And if they get Joe Alt, they are very big winners in the draft. I think this is a team that really turned around quick despite losing Vrabes, Derrick Henry, and their kind of core that made it to the 1 seed in the AFC Championship, 2 or 3, 4 years ago. But um, man, Joe Alt, pretty much a shoe in.
Hmm.
You
All
got
right,
it.
that leaves me with pick 8.
But hold on,
Another.
before you go, this is
Mm,
yes. So I have a proposal for you.
okay.
Now the Falcons are at pick 8. The Bears are at pick 9.
All
I will
right.
say this: I think pick 9 is a very popular trade up spot because now that all three receivers are gone in our scenario, right? The Bears don't like if Rome was there, the Bears would be like, okay, cool, let me take him. Now
Yep.
he's not, right?
Yes.
And the Falcons, I think they probably, would want a defensive player, maybe an edge guy. They could get that at 11. Like they can get still probably their
Hmm.
fair share of the edge guys at 11. So, but when the Vikings are maybe offering like low key that 23rd pick for maybe, the eighth and maybe a fourth, how do you say no? Would you take that offer if I'm giving it to you? I would give you the 11th.
So here's where I'm going to go with this. The Falcons with Kirk now are in go mode, and I am concerned with edge picks coming up. I am
Okay.
concerned with Bears going edge. I am concerned with Jets as a defensive team going edge. They lost Bryce Huff.
Really? Over
Yes,
the
they got
tackle?
yeah, over a tackle.
Would you
With
would you
Tyron, I think they can make it a year if he stays
okay.
healthy. That is a
That's
question
so
mark.
that's the
They
big
could
question,
go
right?
there. It is a question mark. And so this is again trade or edge. I think it's trade or edge.
Mhm.
Um, the reason I'm not going to do this, I'm going to check this with you. I think nine is the trade up spot.
Okay.
I think nine's the spot because the Bears only have like 4 to 5 picks this draft.
So you're right. So, but the thing is, right? Are the Vikings scared that a team like Denver would try and get there at 9? Right? Like
That's
that's
what
where
I'm
I'm
thinking.
like,
That's where I
ooh.
think the battle. That's where I think the battle is.
Okay.
So we can talk at the next pick if you feel that way. But I am gonna feel like the Falcons are gonna take their edge one, so no one else can have him. And
Sure.
they're gonna pick a very talented player, a very talented edge with no injury history,
I know where
and
you're going with this.
and it'll be the first defensive player off the board, which is who I think the first defensive player will be off the board, and that is Alabama's Dallas
Yep.
Turner.
Yeah, yeah. As soon as you said no injury history, I knew where you were going. It's funny because as much as he is a UCLA guy, I am probably the biggest Laiatu Latu fan you will find out there. So, yeah, he is Latu's my edge one, but I know the injury history. I know the neck injuries. So yes, I'm well aware. But yeah, Dallas Turner goes there, and I've mocked this pick. I think this is like kind of a shoe in. Falcons get their guy. So yeah, now I guess that brings me to the Bears. And yeah, I mean now if like Rome was there again, this would be a shoe in, right? And I think Rome would have been there if the Chargers traded down. But the Chargers said, nah, we want our guy. So the Bears here are like, okay, we could get another edge to maybe pair with our guy, but like my thought is, you know, we can still get Jared Verse or Latu at 11 if we really want an edge or 12. So the thing is, I'm saying, who do you think is more likely to trade? Is it Minnesota or is it Denver? And I think it's Minnesota just because they have more ammo to give.
100% is exactly what I was gonna say.
All right.
That's exactly
So
what.
I think I'm going to do that then. I'm just going to propose the trade from Minnesota to Chicago. It would probably be the 11 and the 23 for like a first and a 2025th fourth. That's probably what I think it would be. But again, just for, the sake of this, I'm just going to inflate the trade just so I hope it goes through. Okay, cool. It did. So cool. Minnesota's on the clock. And this will be where you get your chance to talk about it, where I will also get to talk about it. But JJ McCarthy goes at number 9. I'll let you go. Guest go first. What are your thoughts on JJ? From what I heard, it's not as positive as I may have hoped, but yeah,
Yes.
where do you stand on him?
I am I like JJ McCarthy as a player. I like JJ McCarthy. The issue is the experience, and that's such a big deal. And he just doesn't have that experience of enough adversity, in my opinion, and enough situations where you have to throw. And his arm is there. His athletic ability is there. He's made great reads. He has seemed a little jittery at times. But I can't warrant rating a player this high without the experience of running through reads and being in a situation where you need to pass the ball at a crucial situation. And that's really my big thing with him. As a guy, I love his attitude. I love how he's handled himself. I think it's all there. It's just what is missing is the time to grow and the time and I don't know if growing in the NFL is a great with how raw of a player he is, that growth. Um, I don't know about it. Reminds me of Trey Lance. I'm not making that comp at all. I'm just saying that raw of a guy going to the NFL is an issue. But with a team like the Vikings, he's got the
Good
weapons there. So
situation.
we'll
Yeah.
see. What's your take on JJ?
So I've gone back and forth with it. I initially started the process not liking him. He's only really gone up for me, but there is like there's still a set ceiling like with this guy. Like you,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
what has gone up when I did watch him at the combine and just in general when I watched a little bit more tape is his fundamentals. He just checks everything. Like he is a really good fundamental passer. Like his release is fluid. His, his footwork, his ability to stand in the pocket, make those throws is pretty good. Like it checks the boxes for me. It's not something where I'm concerned about. What I am concerned about is what you mentioned. I like what you said a lot, right? The out of structure stuff where things don't go your way. He didn't really have to face that much. I would argue the only time he really had to was like the game against Ohio State for like a quarter, or the Illinois game 2 years ago. Like that's pretty much it, where they converted a fourth down. That's all I can remember. And for a guy like JJ, again, passes the boxes, would be going to a good team. The question is he a guy that's going to uplift you? When you take a quarterback in the first round, you are expecting a guy who's going to uplift your team and, literally add 1 to 2 wins on that final win column, right? We've seen plenty of those guys. And I think in pretty much everyone's top 5 quarterbacks, they have added wins to their team. Is JJ a guy like that? I just don't know. I would probably lean on no if I'm a betting man. But, you know, NFL guys really like him a lot. Again, a fluid, solid quarterback. But is he getting, maybe a first round grade? Like, I mean, I think his grade right now is like top 10. I think pretty much everyone has him there. I would say he's probably like a late first if I were to give him a true grade, late first, early second. Quarterbacks tend to get taken higher than their, draft eval grade. It is what it is. So that's my take on JJ. I would say he's, right outside that tier of Drake and Jaden. I think he's closer to that tier than where I have Bo and Penix. Um, but yeah, he's just kind of right in that fourth, spot for me. But yeah, so McCarthy goes at 9, Jets at 10. So now what do you do with the whole
Hmm.
edge situation? Do you give the Bears not a picking of their choosing, or do you go tackle? Or do you go block?
Um,
That's also a
so
possibility.
I am very tempted. I was just gonna say to start this, I don't like Brock Bowers falling this far at
Mhm.
all. Um, but I don't think a team is willing to trade up for him past. I don't know if you're willing to do it for a tight end.
Nah, not
I
past. I
think,
don't think past 10. I
yeah,
just don't think you're willing to do it.
yeah, his time is coming. I will say his time is coming, but I do feel like I'm not gonna say Aaron Rodgers got hurt last year, right? Aaron Rodgers got hurt. And yes, they picked up Tyron Smith. And so I'm going to make a pick I didn't think I was going to make, but I am going to go Troy Fatanu. Fatanu.
Wow.
Yes, I'm going to go Troy Fatanu. Now, hear me out here.
Whoa. Okay, we're
I
locking
was
it in.
thinking, let's lock it in.
All right.
So I do have Troy falling down the board a little bit here, but the reason I'm going here and the reason I like this is because I think the Jets are trying to go all in right now with Aaron, who they have left for a limited amount of time. And what you can do with Troy is if Tyron stays on the field, Troy can shift to guard.
Yep. Yeah.
And that flexibility that Troy has that he could stick at guard is I think what the Jets are looking for here. And I know they could go Fuaga. I could have 50-50 Fuaga here, but I think the
Yeah.
Jets are thinking flexibility, win now. That's what they need to do. Does Talisa Fuaga have the ability, as well as Troy Fatano, to get in there at guard? I'm not sure, but I do think what makes the Jets the best team right now is taking Troy Fatano.
That's I love your reasoning. And so Troy is one of those guys that again I thought played in a very, cohesive O line, but he was a big part of that. And he's, in my opinion, probably one of the more athletic ones on here, like in terms of speed. Just play speed at the POA. And a guy like Fuaga is bigger. He's like 6'6, like 330, I want to say, right? Is his shift to guard possible? Yes. Is it as seamless as a guy like Troy? I don't think so. So that I think is a really good point. So in terms of tackle, Fuaga would probably be a better fit here, but in terms of versatility, you do bring up a good point with Troy. So that's a solid pick. I would, in a lot of mocks I kind of had him around that 15 to 16 range, but again, with these tier of tackles, it's not really a reach. Like these are all good
Mm-hmm.
players. So
Mm-hmm.
now that brings me to 11. And yeah, that's where the Bears really get their pick. Um, the question is, do they go with, in my opinion, the guy who's better, or do they go with a guy who just dominated the ACC, is not as polished as a pass rusher? Because again, Latu has the record for pass rush win rate and pressures in the last 2 years, and he's the league lead or the NCAA leader in sacks over the last 2 years. But Verse, again, less injury prone. He's more raw, but he has the stats to kind of prove it. I think the Bears get a little bit scared with Latu, and I think they do end up taking Verse. Again, this is what I think will happen, not what I think I would do. Because if I was here, believe me, Latu would be a Chicago Bear. But it's what I think will happen, and I think Jared Verse goes here at 11. So we get some defense on the board. Now the Broncos at 12. You've got a make or break pick here. There is so many ways this guy or this team could go. And you see all the needs on the screen with obviously the number one being your position. So what do you do here?
So this is a tough situation. As if I were to pick what I would do, I would not go quarterback here.
Mhm.
I think it's too high, given the guys here. Maybe I go Penix, but I am gonna go Bo here,
Okay.
and I feel like they need to feel that need to feel the need. And here's the deal with Bo. I like Bo. Bo had fantastic seasons at Oregon. Very experienced guy. Most starts
I
as a
yeah,
quarterback
yeah.
in. And I think for the Broncos, Bo has a very great attitude as a player, and he has the athletic ability. He has a good arm. Um, I'm not. I don't like this. I will say I don't like this, but but I think it is what's gonna happen just because of how bad the Broncos need to fill that need at quarterback with him there. And I do feel like down the board here, the Raiders are knocking on the door at picking a quarterback. And I think if Bo Nix fell to the Raiders, I think he's going to the Raiders. But in a situation where the Broncos get JJ and the Vikings don't get a quarterback, I see the Raiders going Bo. But at this point, I know your pick's on the clock. I don't have a quarterback going to them. But for the Broncos, I have Bo. The only issue I have with Bo, one of the issues I have with Bo is a lot of short passes at
Yeah.
Oregon. A lot of
So
screen passes, a
mhm.
lot of quick, but that's a good thing at the same time, is being able to get the ball out quick and making those throws. But it does make me question how he is down the field. So I'll let you take over for the Raiders or say your pitch on Bo.
So when I first did Bo at 12, this was back in like early March or something. Me and my friend Donnie, who did the mock with me, we both just laughed. We were like, dude, like this is at the time it was very bold, but now it's gained so much steam to the point where it's like seemingly the pick. And look, I like Bo. Bo is my QB5, but it's not like a QB5 in a bad way. Like I like him. And you're right. He hit a lot of short passes. He was 77% completion
Mhm.
percentage. Like 77% is I don't care what you're throwing, that's still very impressive. And again, I got to all these there's just so many Pac-12 guys here. Big shout out to the Pac-12. But anyway, like I've had to watch all of these guys, in game plan form, and it's like, you know, Bo hasn't been asked to throw the ball down the field, but he has an arm. And again, he's got good size. He's your kind of prototypical quarterback in the pocket. I feel like he is a Sean Payton guy. And Bo Nix, I just don't know if he necessarily uplifts your team. Again, similar in that JJ range, right? Is he going to maybe add those 1 to 2 wins for you? I don't know, right? And especially a team like Denver right now, who's pretty roster depleted, you just don't really, like what Bo Nix is kind of going into versus what he had at Oregon, even kind of what he had at Auburn. But yeah, like it's not as good of a team. But now I'll transition to the Raiders at 13. So you don't think they go quarterback here? I've never mocked them to have a quarterback, but now here's my problem, right? So can they get I think their next pick is like 40 something. Like so 43 maybe.
Mhm.
They would have to they would probably have to trade up. Now, their quarterback situation is this. It's Aiden O'Connell on a really cheap deal for another 2 years. It's wait. Yeah, it's 2 years. And then it's obviously Gardner, who they got 2 years, 15. So they're not spending a lot in the quarterback department. Now, are they willing to give a third contract, which is again pretty long, for Penix with the 5th year, right? They're gonna have a quarterback room with those three guys. And I honestly think on day one, Penix would probably be the best out of the three, right? Are they willing to, let go of BPA? Because dude, there are so many good players on the board that they could,
Mhm.
feast on. I mean, like they could easily take Terry on Arnold here. They could easily take a JC Latham or an Olu Fashanu, right? It just comes down to, okay, do they take one of those guys, or do they, take Michael Penix at 13? I just don't see how they pass up on him here versus take some of these, again, deep class in a lot of positions. They say to themselves, "Hey, let's get our guy here. Let's build more of our roster with our later picks." And I think Penix just goes here right as of right now. That's probably what I think will happen. And again, for the millionth time, not what I would do with all those players available, because there are some really good players on the board, which we are going to
Mhm.
easily just love picking for these, not quarterback needy teams. But yeah, I'll let you maybe recap that because he is a guy that you really like. So, what are your thoughts?
So very good arm. Makes the reads. Like you said, he had a really good team. Um, but I do have some insider information here. I have a teammate in high school that played on the Washington team
Oh,
that
Griff, huh?
Griffin, who's been in the locker room, and the amount of support that Michael Penix has gotten from his teammates is unmatched from what I've heard. Um, and that's a type of thing that can uplift a team. And regardless on if he has issues making plays, um, or the injury history, he's got a good size. He's 6'3". He's got a good arm. He's got that team part of him. He knows how to make reads.
Yep.
I think they got a good guy there.
There
And
you go.
they have a good O line. They have a decent O line. They have a good left tackle. So we'll see what, and they have now they have Devonta Adams for him. So they have something there for him to throw to.
Keep
And
in
he
mind
is
he's
the type of
left-handed,
guy.
so the left tackle's actually not his blindside tackle. It's the
My
right.
I knew he was a right tackle. I knew it.
Yeah.
You know my point. What is his name? Colton?
Yeah,
Colton.
Colton Miller. Yep.
I don't know why I thought he was a left tackle. Um,
No, no, he
but
is, but he's not the blindside one. So the right tackle actually is more important for him because he's left-handed.
how convenient is that?
That's
How,
gonna be pretty funny.
yeah.
But yeah, you've got Saints at 14. I'm this seems like a shoe in, but what are you thinking here? I think uh I'm thinking
Um,
what do you
see, you have a shoe in here. Um, I don't know what I want to do here, to be honest with you. I don't know if we can swap who we think's going to go where. Would you want to take the Saints pick and I take the Colts pick?
Yeah, sure. I can take the Saints.
Just because there's things I want to do here, but I want to hear your take on what you think the Saints do.
I think the Saints need to go tackle here. Like I think they just don't know how long Ramchek's going to be there. Obviously he's been a staple for that team for so long, and which is why instead of now, like my old self would have taken J.C. Latham, but with kind of the place that they're at, they have Ramchek. Trevor Penning is awful. Like my God, I mean, I hated him from the start. I just want to say, was glad we were right about that. Did not like the dude. Um, and yeah, he's just been a bust, honestly. And I think they can slightly afford to go with a guy who's a little bit more raw, um, just because of maybe a guy like Ramchek manning the front, which is why I think they'll take Olu Fashanu, even though JC Latham is a more polished player. Olu Fashanu has, I think, a lot higher upside. So I think at this moment, JC Latham is the better player, but Olu has the better frame and I think more of upside to go with. Obviously, learning with a guy like Ramchek there, I think the Saints got to go tackle here, and Fashanu is the guy. So I gave you two. Now the Colts are. I know you like this pick, but they have two players that they could really go with, and I'm
Mhm.
curious to see who you're leaning with.
So I see here for the Colts. The Colts have a decent roster. They have a pretty solid roster, underrated roster.
I like that.
Um, and so I'm looking at two guys. I'm looking at ending the fall of Brock,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm looking at my CB. I'm looking at not my CB1.
Oh, okay.
Um, my
Wait.
CB1 is down the board, but I do think the Colts like these types of players. So the question is, the two players are Brock Bowers and Quinyon Mitchell.
Yep,
The
yep, yep.
Colts,
Those are my
the
two as
Colts
well.
love taking athletic freaks. They have two in their hands right here at needy positions. So the question is, do they go defense and go Quinyon Mitchell, or do they go tight end? And I will end that debate real quick with they have a rookie court. They have now a one year played quarterback who's played actually like 4 games,
Yeah.
who could use a weapon. So I'm gonna end the fall of Brock Bowers.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm gonna end the fall of Brock Bowers and have the Colts go Brock Bowers, which at the start of the year, I'll say, not the start of the year, but start of this process, I didn't get it. I couldn't see this happening, but
Dude,
I
yeah.
think this draft can shape up this way.
Dude,
So
he was like in everyone's top five. Like for like
exactly. And
everyone's
yeah.
early 2024 mocks were him at top five. Like he was a
Hmm.
shoo-in for that. But this is no knock on him. Like I don't think he's like lost any, just NFL caliber or NFL potential. Like he is still Brock Bowers. He is still great. I don't think the injury that he had, can't remember what it was. I think it was an ankle or MCL, something on the leg. But um like yeah, I don't think that there was a knock on that. I think it's just a matter of fact of quarterbacks and just how the league kind of shapes out. But yeah, this would be great. I mean, he can really be a shoe in at Y for what they have, kind of a flex player. And the Colts, I'm telling you right now, I love the Colts. I'm probably Shane Steichen's biggest fan. I think he is one of the most creative play callers, especially against man coverage. That dude is just he took Doug Peterson's RPO scheme and just put it on steroids because it's so phenomenal. And I think you get a guy like Brock Bowers who can even be a part of that just over the middle of the field. Sky's the limit for Anthony Richardson, who I already loved as a prospect. So this is just going to be really fun. I think this is going to be really fun to watch. The Colts O line has been rebuilt. This already was a 9-win team with Gardner Minshew and a lot of holes on defense. Watch out for the Colts. That's what I'll say. Now, I guess, do you want to go back to evens odds
Yeah,
or?
I'll go back to
All
evens.
right. So yeah, you can take pick 16 here with Seattle, a team that I know you're not a fan of, but you do have to give them a good player here.
The Seattle is a good organization recently. They make a lot of good choices. And they pick a lot of very high quality players. Last year, I feel like people were surprised with Witherspoon up
Yeah,
at 5. Um, but I understood. He's that good of a guy. He was that good of a
he's the
player.
CB1
Very
for me.
physical, and it showed in this season. He had a fantastic season as a rookie, and really showed why he's such a good player. And I think in this situation, I'm gonna, as Seattle, pick a very good player. And so I'm gonna go with someone who I think has fallen a little bit because of the injury history, but at a position of need, I'm gonna have Seattle go Latu out of UCLA. And I know you're a big Latu
Ooh,
fan. I know, I know.
ooh,
I'm gonna have you give your spiel on Latu because I want to hear this.
wow.
But I have them going a very good player at a position of need, um, to help them fight in that division and put pressure on those quarterbacks.
That's very interesting. So yeah, Seattle is one of those where like there's no linebackers worth taking here, and
Hmm.
they didn't really address it as much in free. Well, no, they got Jerome Baker. I forget because they stole him from us. But anyway, they're happy with their linebacker core. Their O line, I just like I'm thinking because they have Cross and Lucas. Their interior O line could be fixed, but is there really a guy that they're willing to take this high that they know could start at guard? Not really. Maybe Fuaga.
If Futano was here,
Yeah, if
if
Patano was
Futano
here,
was
he's a lot.
here, that's a lock. But he's not, and
That's
I don't think it's. I think it's too early to take a guy like Barton or Jackson Powers Johnson, and I'm very high on Jackson Powers Johnson. Um,
I agree.
I'll let you continue.
I'm very high on Graham Barton, ironically, but not worth 16. Latu, in my opinion, is BPA at that spot because, again, like I said, he is that good. If you watch the tape, if nobody told you he had the neck problem, if nobody told you that, and you just watched his tape, you would be like, holy crap, like this dude is insane. And I know he played with, it was a solid defensive line, but this dude made it so much better. He is just, his get off is great. He's really athletic. I mean, he's got a variety of moves that are just super effective at the point of attack. And he's a guy that would help him really good. Like, because there's a lot of, like, so, Seattle's kind of always had a pretty deep cornerback room. And you're like, whoa, why would you take Witherspoon here? They have Boye Mafe, who they spent a second round pick on, and they have Nwosu, who had 10 sacks last year. So you're like, whoa, why do you take this guy? Well, dude, he's going to only make him better. And I think, with questions to Boye, right? Sure, he had a decent second half of the year, but you're not fully sold on him. I have never mocked or I've never really seen Latu go at 16, but the way you kind of brought it up and the way I like him, Seattle, this seems like a Seattle pick. Like, this really does seem like one of the picks that they would do, especially with this board. I think with this
Yep.
board, this is a very Seattle pick to make, and I'm with you on that. 17, the Jags. This it's so I don't know if you know this. It went from Carson Wentz to Trevor Lawrence. Trevor, it's my guy. I am the biggest T-Law fan in the world. And I'm just staring Brian Thomas and AD Mitchell in the face.
Mm.
But I see Quinion Mitchell and Terrion Arnold both, like, they have their choice of corner. I mean, I just don't know how I can pass on that. Even with Tyson Campbell there, how do I pass on a guy like Quinion Mitchell who can be that bigger guy on a wide receiver too? Like, how do I pass on that? I just can't. As much as I want to go receiver here, I'm so sorry, Trevor. Just please trade back in the first round if this happens. I just can't do it to myself. Like, I see Quinion Mitchell there,
Look,
and
do they need another wide receiver too? They already have like 4.
so that's the yeah. See, that's the pro.
They
Like, they
have
have
so many wide receiver
they
twos.
just they don't have a guy like, and I think a guy like Brian Thomas could be their X. Like, Gabe Davis is not an X. Christian Kirk actually in 2022 was pretty solid as one,
He's a
but
slot.
yeah, but 1100 yards is not gonna really cut it. I just don't. It pains me for Trevor, but I just can't, like. I know I'm saying this in a negative connotation, but Quinion Mitchell is a beast. Like, I'm gonna go probably him here, just because I think Arnold honestly is a more polished cornerback one. But again, with Tyson Campbell there, Quinion Mitchell has the athletic upside to just be an absolute war front on the other side. So that's my reasoning for Quinion there. Obviously, you saw the Senior Bowl tape. He's just an athletic freak. So yeah, Quinion there. And that, I feel like, again, at 18 for the Bengals, that's just, they gotta go with the other one. But this pick is yours. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, so I'm right there with you. Um, I'm thinking here, I think it's for sure defense. Um, I think it's Terrion or an interior D lineman. Um, I do think I think what I'm going to do here, if I was the Bengals, I am going to go Terrion Arnold. Now, Terrion Arnold is my CB1, and it's because of how polished he is, how physical he is, the experience at Alabama, the last Alabama season of Saban, and Alabama has produced a number
So
of
many,
fantastic
so many,
DBs,
so many,
and I think
so
Terrion
many.
Arnold is another one of those fantastic DBs. Um, I really like
Before,
how he
okay,
plays ball.
before you lock it in, though, I
Mhm.
don't have this pick, but I'm gonna just offer you the chance to do it.
Okay.
There is a team at pick 28 who is in desperate need of a wide receiver, and they would
Yes.
get their pickings with a guy like AD Mitchell or Brian Thomas Jr. Would you think about the potential of Cincinnati trading all the way down to 28? Now, they would definitely not get Arnold. I think Arnold would be long gone, right?
Mhm.
Do you think a team like Cincinnati would actually be willing to trade down with the Bills at 28? I think if anyone is going to do it, I think Buffalo would be willing to trade up that far. But again, it's on you. What do you think?
I will say this is a stacked wide receiver class. So I think Buffalo is going to take their time. And the reason I'm hesitant against the Bengals trading down here is because of the players at their grasp right here and how they're in a win now mode. They still have T. Higgins. I don't think they're going to trade him. They might they're going to have some issues with some players down the road. And I think with how good of a roster this is, adding a big key piece like Terry and Arnold is something you hang on, my AirPod just died.
No, you're good. Don't worry.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I think adding a piece like Terran Arnold right now with how stacked this roster is, I don't think that the Bills would give enough and the Bengals would receive enough to make the move here. I will say, I do think if the Bills move up, they're moving up with a team that needs the draft capital that needs to really boost their team. So I'm looking at the Steelers with how good their roster is. They're having a quarterback switcheroo right now, and that might lead them to need more capital.
Mhm.
But a lot of these teams are quite sound, so Buffalo would have to give a lot to move up. But I don't think it's the spot here. Do you hear my reasoning here?
Yes, I 100% agree with you. I think
So
that's a
I
great.
am going to go Arnold at 18.
Yes, I
I
like
am.
that too.
I will say I'm very close to taking Newton or Byron Murphy, but I think BJ Hill's a good player.
Yeah, and they
I
got Sheldon Rankin, so
Yeah.
they kind of fulfill that DJ
Yeah.
Reader void.
Yeah,
Not
and
fully. I don't think it'll ever be replaced, but
mhm.
they do it there. Now the Rams, look, I've mocked Latu to the Rams for like a million years, and I'm a big Sean McVay guy, so you know I would be very happy with that. But now they get their pickings of both the interior D lineman for obviously Aaron Donald's sudden and very sad retirement. Not for you, you probably very happy about that. But at
Yes.
19, I think the Rams go with their, kind of their choice here, and it's really just like who I like more. I'm really torn. I'm just gonna say Johnny Newton. I like honestly, they're really like 1A 1B. Um, I've heard arguments for both. I've had weeks where I'm like, it's Johnny Newton. I've had weeks where it's Byron Murphy. Like really, I've gone back and forth with it. I don't think you can necessarily go fully wrong here. I'm just gonna lean on the Big Ten experience and go Johnny Newton here at 19.
Sounds good.
We've got some tackles falling that I did not think would be here. But
Yes.
what are you gonna do with the Steelers at 20? That's the interesting one.
So the Steelers have a very they have a good team and
Mm.
they could acquire the draft capital, but they do have a glaring need and a position is falling down the board. Um, and they have a very stacked defense. But I am gonna go. I'm gonna call this a fall. I'm gonna end the fall of Fuaga,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna have Fuaga um, heading to the Steelers.
I just
And
how would they pass
filling
up on him? Like here.
Yeah, I don't see
Right
them
guard?
passing
Or-
up on him considering their left tackle is I don't know who it is right
Oh,
now.
let me tell you. It's Dan Moore. And by the way, you want to know his stats on against Miles Garrett? He's allowed 9 sacks to Miles Garrett alone. So yeah, they would love to get like it's so funny because he's been solid, like or not too bad against other players, but against Miles Garrett, this dude is like it's great because when they match up, I'm very happy. But yeah, like I just don't think Dan Moore is your full-time solution. Even if he is, you could even put him at Fuaga at right guard because again, Fuaga was a right tackle coming in or out of Oregon State, but
Mhm,
yeah, I think the Steelers fans would rejoice, which obviously makes me sick to my stomach, but
mhm.
they get their guy here. 21 now. The
I'm gonna
Dol-
say one thing
yeah,
before you continue about the Bills. Um, The Bills lost a number of key players this postseason. And I feel like it'd be tough for them to move up so heavily in a receiver stat class in which they still need to fill big needs on
mm,
defense. I see Buffalo definitely going probably safety in round two. They can snag up a really good safety. So it'd be hard. I feel like it'd be difficult for Buffalo to part with big picks in this draft to move up so considerably for I don't think the difference between Brian Thomas, despite loving Brian Thomas and loving um, Texas's wide receiver, whose name escapes me right now, Adonai
Katie
Mitchell.
Mitchell. Yep.
Um, despite, I just don't think the separation between them and a player like Lad McConkey is that significant. It is considerable, but is it worth the amount of capital they give up? I'd say no. So that's why I would just want to touch on the Bills real quick.
Nah, I agree with that. Um, Now at 21, I think this is probably a shoe-in given the board. They just lost Christian Wilkins. Byron Murphy's right there. He's probably BPA or close to it. So I think the Dolphins would happily just take not fully a Wilkins replacement, but obviously the closest thing to it in Byron Murphy II. Um, and yeah, I just realized the Bears are going to have 3 first-round picks in this draft. I probably should have revisited the package back then, but do you think that 11 and 23 is actually worth going up just a mere 2 spots? Like they would obviously get like the Bears first and maybe a day 2 pick in next year's draft or something, but do you think, I mean, it's even worth going up those 2 spots just to ensure that the Broncos don't get there?
Are you saying that? Do you think it's worth for the Vikings to move up earlier in the draft? Is that what you're saying? Um,
Because yeah, the Bears get 23
for
now.
for for timely need, they have just will Justin Jefferson be okay being a Minnesota Viking without a new quarterback? I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know. So I feel like giving up the pick to jump the Broncos to get a quarterback to build on in a need where they have 2 wide receivers who are very strong and young and ready to go. I think a timely situation would fit the amount to give up.
That's fair. So what do you do with the Eagles here at 22? You see the team needs.
Yes.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking something I haven't done yet. I haven't done this, and I really like this player. Um, mm, but hmm. I'm stuck between 2 guys, and the 2 guys I'm looking at are Amarius Mims and Cooper DeJean. And I
Interesting.
and the reason behind these two is I feel like the Eagles need to they're a big O-line team. Um,
Well, they
they
have
could be a
Lane and
replacement for Kelsey.
Milata,
I'm
right?
stuck here. I'm stuck here right now because there's many options they could go Barton. They could go Jackson Powers Johnson. I think they have a lot of options here, and there's a lot of good players. The reason I say Amarius Mims is because Lane Johnson could be leaving soon, and Amarius Mims could be that
Oh,
superstar
yeah,
player
because
that
he's
needs
super raw.
development.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
needs development. Um, so the question is, and then I want to say Cooper DeJean because of how physical of a player Cooper DeJean is, and how garbage the Eagles secondary was in that playoff game.
I was gonna throw out Nate Wiggins in there too. Do you like him? He's
I
got
don't like Nate Wiggins because of how he's a great cover DB. I'll start there. But he's exactly what the Eagles don't need, which is a non-physical DB.
yeah,
I don't
that's
think
fair.
they need a
That's fair.
non-physical DB at all right now, despite me liking Nate Wiggins in coverage significantly.
That's a
Um,
really good
so the question is, what do I want to do?
point.
This is a tough one. Um, what would the Eagles do? Hmm.
That's that. Yeah,
Let's let's
that's
let's examine one thing real quick. What did the Eagles do last year? Do you remember what their move was? That they went
uh,
Georgia. They went Georgia.
yeah. They went Georgia again, right?
They went Georgia. So I'm gonna have them going Georgia again. I'm gonna have them going Amarius Mims
All right.
to be that tackle for Jalen in the future and have time to learn behind one of the best offensive line coaches in all the NFL. Um, and coaching systems for offensive linemen. And I'm very close to saying Graham Barton to sub in for Kelsey to possibly move there at center. But I'm gonna go have them take the highest ceiling player,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
that's
dude.
Maris
Yeah.
Mims.
He's just like. I mean, he has like 9 starts or something, but dude is a freak. Like
And now he has time to learn behind one of the best tackles. Lane Johnson's been one of the strongest tackles for the last number of
easily,
years in
dude.
the league.
Easily. I've
Um,
I've loved Lane Johnson for years. Like that
And
dude.
this is a tough one because this was a tough one for the Eagles because they could have gone many areas, but I'm gonna have them going to Marius Mims and going their Georgia love. Man, do they love Georgia players? And here's another one for them.
Now the Bears are sitting here at 23, and they're like, yo. I mean, we have, dude. The Bears could really win this draft with what I'm thinking for them. So I don't think they need to go J.C. Latham just because Braxton Jones has been good for them last year. Darnell Wright was their first-round pick last year.
Mm-hmm.
We were thinking Rome or one of those guys at pick 9. I'm not like, are they really angry if they have to go Brian Thomas or AD Mitchell here? I don't necessarily think so.
Do you think they go wide receiver over a defensive player right now?
So that's the question. I think if there was, if So it really comes down to Brian or Chop. I think that's what it's going to come down to. Like,
Chop this early. So you're high on Chop right
yes,
now.
I think Chop is a really raw player, but he's like super high
A
upside.
freak.
What better way to
Twitchy as hell.
what better way to play with than pairing up with Montez Sweat, right? Like I think
That
that's
is a
probably what the
very
best.
athletic duo right there. My God.
But here's the thing: they took Jared Verse at 11, so they don't need Chop Robinson.
Hmm.
So at 23, I don't think they need to go edge. I think they shore up that receiving core. And again, it comes down to Brian Thomas or AD Mitchell. I'm just gonna pull up AD Mitchell's height real quick, just because I don't remember what it is. But I
Six
think it's like
one.
six. I think it's like oh, here it is. Okay, 6'2" and 205. But he ran a 4.34. Like that's
Broken
really
play.
good. But you have a guy who can run the inside routes. You have similar thing DJ Moore. He does pretty much everything. Are they both necessarily great at that go up and get it? Not really. That's why you get a Brian Thomas. And boom, the Bears in this draft get Caleb, Brian Thomas, and Jared Verse. I think they would just be ecstatic. They wouldn't care what picks they gave up in day 2 next year. I don't think they would care. They would be just through the roof with this. They would be so happy.
Wow. So that leaves me with the Cowboys at 24, does it?
Dude, I think this is like they would be just jumping off the board with
It would be this is a shoe-in.
yeah. Who we thinking?
Um, I'm gonna go see. There is an argument for Graham Barton,
Yeah.
but I think if JC Latham is not there, it's Graham Barton.
Agreed. Agreed.
But JC Latham has fallen.
Yeah, how do you like
So I don't see you passing up an Alabama tackle like JC Latham here. So I'm gonna go JC Latham to the Cowboys and in a position they need very bad, losing one of the best, another one of the most talented left tackles for a number of years, and they lost in Tyron Smith, and now they have someone to come in there and play tackle right next to the other T. Smith. So there.
let me just say this. Cowboys fans, I know Terrence Steele, they hate him. Like if Terrence Steele was dude, those Cowboys fans like despise him. So I think yeah, JC Latham would probably be the right tackle kind of right away. Now the Packers at 25, they are an interesting team. They could
Oh,
go
oof, I have a big. This has been a connection for me for a while.
Are
For
you thinking Cooper DeJean here? Is that
very heavily, very
okay?
heavily.
See, yes. So a lot of Packers fans have been begging for him, and I think it's pretty high. They did get Xavier McKinney, but they don't really have that nickel safety who can really play at all ends. And DeJean's not really a nickel corner. I would say he's more of a nickel safety, which again, true football fans I think kind of know that difference. Um, the thing is, though, yeah, and I think they like Eric Stokes, so they don't really need Nate Wiggins here. I think they're happy with their pass rush because of Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith, so they don't need a Chop
And
Robinson.
they drafted Van Ness last year.
Yeah, you're right. So I think you're right. This is a shoe in. I think we go Cooper DeJean at 25, and Packers fans are happy with that. They get their
Mhm.
nickel. So 26, the Tampa Bay Bucks with some pretty solid guys available. What are you thinking?
I have them going Jalen right now. I'm kidding. Um, no, running backs are not even if a running back goes in the first round in this draft,
No, no. I don't
I
even
would
think
I
going
would
to the top 2 rounds. Like
I wouldn't I would change my name. It's not happening. Um, but I think we have another. I don't want to say shoe in,
Mhm.
but um, the Buccaneers lost a number of defensive players this last postseason, and I think they're gonna go defense here.
Got it.
Now, who do you think gives them the biggest jump here? I'm gonna give it to a guy where I think this is exactly where he's gonna go, right in this area, about to enter the second round, but just on the tippy end of the last 7 picks of the NFL draft. I'm gonna go Chop Robinson out of Penn
Mhm.
State
Yep,
to the
yep,
Buccaneers. One
yep.
of the most very raw player, but absolute animal on film. This guy is so electric. His film, when you watch this guy on film, he's moving so much faster than everyone else. if they can just tune this up, I want to compare to Micah Parsons. I'm not going to, despite how both freaky they are as players. Chop is more raw, but also very twitchy as hell. And so I'm going to have the Buccaneers feeling a big need for them and taking an edge rusher who could end up being a very impactful player for them.
I can't stop nodding my head because I completely agree with everything. I think if he wasn't there, it would be a guy like Kool-Aid, but this is just such a good fit. I think with Kalijah Cansey, Logan Hall, who hasn't been the greatest, but I think they've got to take a guy like this with his upside. Now the Cardinals at 27 have a variety of ways. I think if the Bucks had gone Kool-Aid, I think the Cardinals would have gone Chop. Bucks went Chop. I think the Cardinals could very well go with a corner here. Um, I think that's probably where they would lean, just because I don't know where else they would go. I mean, they got like they've I know the team needs says interior D lineman, but they already spent like literally $20 million on two on I think Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones. So I think they got to go with a field side corner, and it's either going to be Kool Aid or Nate here. They have Sean Murphy Bunting, and my question is, do they want a guy who just like Kool Aid is not as polished in coverage as Nate, but teams did not throw at him. Like that's my thing with him. So I'm really leaning Kool Aid here actually, prior to maybe Nate being ranked higher as a cover corner. So I think I'm actually gonna go Kool Aid. And yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that's a surprising one.
Mhm.
I think Kool-Aid is a second round guy. Was one of the biggest corners leading up
Yep.
until this year, and then kind of got overshadowed by
Carry on.
Terry and Arnold. But and because see, it's tough here because with Kool-Aid, he's more he's got the bigger scope than Nate Wiggins does, but Nate Wiggins has the better area with the coverage abilities.
Mhm.
So it could go either way here. I see both of them. It's just I think it's a little early for Kool-Aid, but I see the team need. I mean, Cardinals could go anywhere here. They have a lot of needs.
Yeah.
So I won't complain for them.
So
Um,
now at 28, you've got well, you know where they got to go, but who is the guy you're going to give him?
so you're a big Mitchell fan. I'm a big Keon Lad McConkey fan. So the
Okay.
question is, how high are they willing to go and who's their guy? The issue with Mitchell is that is it true or is it buzz that the Bills don't like the pre-Badana wide receivers in the locker room?
Hmm.
Is that buzz or is that real? That's the question. I think Mitchell, there's talks about him not if he's not getting the ball, he's not running a hard route. And so do the Bills go that direction?
They had a guy in number 14 who gave him
Yes.
some fits for years. So
So
you go here.
I'm gonna have someone jumping up a little bit, and I think it's some people are overlooking who's been falling down the board a little bit, and but people are forgetting, despite the slow combine
Yes, I already
and
know what you're going to say.
running the fastest in the drills, people are sleeping on this guy as one of the best wide receivers in this class, and I'm gonna have the Bills going Keon Coleman.
Hmm. Yes,
You want to get your
I'm a
feel on this
big,
one?
big Keon guy because, dude, he was mocked to like 15 to 16 range. Then the combine, fine, he ran a 4.6. Okay, Amon-Ra St. Brown ran a 4.6. Like there's it's not the end all be all. And this is a guy who produced at Florida State, was a really raw player, but he was really good at Michigan State. Dude, I think he can easily be a true X, and I think the Bills would be happy to take a guy like that at 28. And 29, Detroit. They've got a variety of options, but I'm gonna piss off some Niner fans here and just say it. Like they lost Jonah Jackson. How the hell do they not go Graham Barton and take an interior offensive lineman? So they could. I mean, I just don't think there's any edges to really go with aside from Aiden Hutchinson that would match this pick. They did lose Cam Sutton, so I could think about Nate Wiggins here. I'm just gonna take a look at their other corners just to make sure I would take Graham.
Mhm,
They do have Amick Robinson. Yes, that's why I'm forgetting. They signed Carlton Davis, and for that reason,
mhm, mhm.
I'm gonna take Graham Barton and shore up that interior O line hole. Which I know they signed Zeitler, but he's up there in age, and I think Graham Barton is young, a guy that he could really plug in anywhere. So I'm just taking him for the youth there. You could really argue corner with me, but I think they like Robertson and Davis, so they take
Mhm.
a guy for the long haul.
It's a good pick. It's a good pick. Um, and so now we got the Ravens at 30. And wow, this is a deteriorated board, but I'm gonna go with a player who I really like.
Hmm.
Um, it's an offensive tackle.
Ooh, okay. I
And
was
they
thinking, I
need
was like, please don't give him AD Mitchell as a Browns fan. That would just make
yeah,
me.
no, I don't think the I think the Ravens wide receiver needing is kind of over for now because of how much depth they have and how
Yeah.
many different weapons they have. Um, Zay is an interesting. He's a weapon. He's a Swiss Army knife. I don't know if he's the big number one guy, but he's a good weapon. Um, and the Ravens have a number of good weapons at wide receiver. And so I'm going to have the Ravens, despite needing safety and losing Geno Stone, I'm going to have them going Jordan Morgan here.
Jordan Morgan. I thought you were gonna go Guyton. Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a Jordan Morgan fan in his pass sets and how well he of a pass blocker he is and the size he has. I do wish he did um play in his game against who did Arizona play in the bowl game? I'm not remembering correctly.
Don't
I
remember.
am wishing
I can check it up, but I don't remember who it was. Let's see. Was it let's see. Last was it San no, it wasn't San Diego State. That was a long time ago. Oh, it was Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Alamo
They
Oklahoma.
despite him not being present in that game, Jordan Morgan at the combine ran a very quick 10-yard split. And this is a big thing among offensive linemen. If you run a quick 10-yard split, there's a signs that you're going to be a good player. And he ran one of the fastest 10-yard splits at the combine. Um, and I already liked him as a player. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go Jordan Morgan here to fill that gap at right tackle or possibly left tackle if Ronnie Stanley still has issues staying on the field. So I'm going to have them protecting Lamar here and going offensive tackle.
I like that pick. I like that pick a lot. I'm gonna actually forfeit this pick to you because you are the Niner fan. So you get your pick of some pretty solid players on the board. I know Graham Barton would have been a pretty good ad for you guys, but
Mhm.
what are you thinking with this kind of skew of players?
So I'm telling you right now, um, I am. Let me adjust my board real quick so I can see all of this correctly.
And then I'll take 32 if that's cool. I think
That's
32
all
is
good.
kind of
That's all good. I do
yes.
think they are going receiver, and they have a glaring one who's obvious right now. But I'm gonna go with who I would be ecstatic to have as a Niners fan at pick 31. Um, God, I'd be ecstatic to have this guy. I don't think. See, the way this board has fallen though seems so likely. It's just I feel like one of these teams could say, "Oh, but I like this guy because I like this guy." Um, and I'm gonna have them go Jackson Powers
Yeah,
Johnson out of
yeah,
Oregon.
that's who
Um,
I
very, very, very good mauler in the run game. Um, and a good general of the offensive line for Oregon. A big staple for them, and I feel like he could be a great piece for the Niners to have on their interior O line, which they desperately need, despite
need
needing a
it
right
bad.
tackle.
Like, yeah, that's where they're
Mhm.
gonna
But they definitely could go with Guyton still on the board. It's tough because if Morgan's there, they could go Morgan. But they also could go Guyton. I could see
They could go
Guyton.
tackle, like they could go anywhere on the line because who's the guy? Colton, Colton, whatever his name is
Oh,
the starting.
McKivitz.
Yes, yeah, and obviously it's Trent and
He was
Aaron.
a fifth rounder. He served well. It's just I don't know how much longer you're okay with him at right tackle.
Yeah, that
Um,
was my reasoning too.
so which I understand. It's just with the amount with the talent that Jackson Powers Johnson gives you as one of the best offensive linemen in this draft, who could have gone
In the
late
20s,
teens.
like
Let's
early,
be
yeah,
honest.
early 20s, late teens. Yep.
Um, I think the Niners fans and the Niners are ecstatic to have Powers Johnson down here at 31.
I guess that leaves me with the Chiefs. I just look. I've had Ladco here. I've had Shrikar's put Xavier here. How do you pass on AD Mitchell at 32? I can't do it. I'm very high on the guy. He's honestly very similar to Rashee Rice in a way. Maybe not as fast, or maybe, or actually, wait, no. Combine wise, he is, but not as maybe twitchy after the catch. But
Mhm.
hopefully, he doesn't go in any cars anytime soon. But yeah, this would probably be 80
Gotta
minutes.
drop that. Don't get in the car.
Yeah,
Uh,
just don't drive. You can just be in the passenger seat or something. But yeah, I think it's gonna be another Texas receiver here. Or well, Rasheed went to SMU, but another state of the Texas receiver here. And AD Mitchell is gonna round out our draft. And whoa, let's do full results here. But
might
yes,
I say, let's make some comments on this draft. I really like this draft a
I do
lot.
too.
This is one of my favorites I've I've seen. Maybe it's because I've done it. It probably is because I've done half of it, but it looks so realistic. And everyone that's still here, I say the big names that are still here, Nate Wiggins, um, maybe Lad McCon. I think it's a toss up between McConkey and Mitchell to the Chiefs.
Yes.
But no one else here seems a big surprise to not be taken off the board other than Wiggins. And I really like that.
Yeah, I like this draft a lot. This is the first time I've had all three receivers go 4, 5, 6. And I think the Bears make it out of here just like super ecstatic if they get this type of scenario. I think the Niners would be happy with JPJ down there. The Rams get their guy with Johnny Newton. I mean, dude, like I think a lot of teams are very happy here. I don't think a single team is like walking out saying, "Damn, like, you know, we could have like I think everybody gets something from this. Like this is a very, need fulfilled draft. We had six quarterbacks go in the top 13. We had, I'm trying to count them. We had Morgan, we had Latham, we had Mims. So that's three. We had Fashanu 4, Fatanu 5.
Did you get Fuaga?
Oh, Fuaga 6, 7. So we had seven, I think, tackles, right? Seven or yeah. So I think we had seven, might or yeah, seven tackles or something like that. And then the receivers kind of went in the spots we thought. So this is a very reasonable draft. I think this is like something that could very well happen. Kool-Aid and Nate at 27 is probably like the toss up where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe the Cardinals go somewhere different, but I think the Cowboys are also ecstatic that they get Latham at 24. Like, I've never had Latham fall that far. I've had him go as early. I've seen some people even mock him at 7. Never had him to 24. So this was a very unique draft in that sense. But hey, this one was a cool one. Any final thoughts before we head? Would you
Um, I just really like this one. This is a good one. This is one that really everything makes sense. Despite some small falls, it makes sense. I feel like realistically, the real draft is gonna be like this, but there's gonna be three, two trades in there
Yeah,
that were not there, and there's gonna be three. Wow, you reached for that guy
agreed.
type situation. I think the Lions are a team that could say, "Wow, they reached,"
Mhm.
because they like to take their guy.
Yep.
I think the Cowboys are also a team that likes to take their guy.
Especially in this
Um,
range where they'd be drafting like
yeah,
22 to 26. Yep.
I think Seattle's a team that takes BPA, preferably a defender. So the fact that they have Latu at 16 is a score for them.
It
I
would
would
be
be
very
so disappointed as a Niners fan to see
Yeah.
Latu go to the Seahawks at 16. Um, yeah, this is a good one.
This one's a good one, man. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, let us know your thoughts about your team or, again, if you're a Bears fan, I know you're happy with this. So let us know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We've been the Cold Hard Truth NFL podcast, and we will see you guys next time.